Powerplant at cruise RPM. Some oil will flow through the relief valve of the gear type engine oil pump. This is normal as the relief valve is set at pressure which is lower than the pressure pump capabilities. Lower than pressure pump, not the inlet pressure. Lower than the pressure pump capabilities. Which of the following factors have the least effect on the oil consumption of the specific engine? The least effect is the mechanical efficiency. Factors has the least effect on oil consumption, mechanical efficiency, and we in lubrication, I think. The vent line connecting the oil supply tank and the engine in some dry sump engine installation permits the oil tank to be vented through the normal engine vent. The oil tank to be vented through the normal engine vent. Fuel may be used to cool oil in the gas turbine engines. Ram air may be used to cool oil in the gas turbine engines. Both 1 and 2 is true. How? Let's get into it, please. Statement 1 is true. Fuel may be used to cool the engine oil in the fuel or oil exchanger. Statement 2 is also true. Ram air may be used to cool the engine oil in the air-to-oil heat exchanger. The purpose of a relief valve installed in a tank venting system of an engine oil tank is to prevent oil cavitation by maintaining a constant pressure on the oil pump inlet. It prevents oil pump cav by maintaining a constant pressure on oil pump inlet. Oil picks up the most heat from which of the following turbine engine components? Turbine bearing. In the turbojet engine, the oil picks up most of the heat from the turbine bearing. The recommended aircraft engine lubricants are mineral and synthetic base. Mineral and synthetic base. The most satisfactory lubricants for aircraft engine have either a mineral base or a synthetic base. If the oil filter elements become completely clogged, bypass valve will open. The oil pump will supply unfiltered oil. What is the primary purpose of the hopper located in the oil supply tank on some dry sump engine installation? Hopper? A. To reduce time required to warm the oil to operating temperatures. What does the hopper do? It reduces the time required to warm the oil to operating temperatures. Which of the following has the greatest effect on the viscosity of lubricating oil? Temperature has the greatest effect than any other choices given here. Viscosity of the lubricating oil. So which of the following has the greatest effect on the viscosity of the lubricating oil? Temperature. Which of the following prevents oil from entering the main accessory case when engine is not running? Which of the following prevents oil? Check valve. Check valve. If all other requirements can be met, what type of oil should be used to achieve theoretically perfect engine lubrication? The thinnest oil that will stay in place and maintain a reasonably blend strength. The thinnest oil that will stay in place and maintain a reasonable film strength. So an ideal engine oil is one that is with a low viscosity. It is thin and pours easily. The low viscosity allows it to circulate easily within the engine. It must also maintain a reasonable film strength so that lubricating film will not break down. At the high operating pressure, the temperatures encountered within the engine. So if all other requirements can be met, what type of oil should be used to achieve theoretically perfect engine lubrication? The thinnest oil that will stay in place and maintain a reasonable film strength. What is the primary purpose of changing aircraft engine lubricating oils at predetermined period? B. The oil becomes contaminated with moisture, acid, and finely divided suspended solid particles. The oil becomes contaminated with moisture, acid, and finely divided suspended solid particles. If all other requirements can be met, what type of oil could be used to achieve theoretically perfect engine lubrication? The thinnest oil that will stay in place and maintain a reasonable film strength. Which of the following prevent oil from entering the main accessory case when engine is not running? Check valve. Which of the following has the greatest effect on viscosity of lubricating oil? Temperature. What is the primary purpose of the hopper located in the oil supply tank of the dry sump engine? To reduce the time required to warm the oil to operating temperatures. If an oil filter element becomes completely clogged, the bypass valve will open. The oil pump will supply unfiltered oil. The recommended aircraft engine lubricants are mineral or synthetic base. Oil picks up most of the heat from which of the following turbine engine component? The turbine bearing. In order to maintain a constant oil pressure as the clearance between moving parts of the engine increase to normal wear, the supply pump output remains relatively constant at given RPM, with less oil being returned to the pump inlet by relief valve. Remains relatively constant at a given RPM, with less oil, not more, less oil being returned to the pump inlet. Why? But since there's more oil flowing out through the bearing, other moving parts, less oil is returned to the inlet of the pump by the relief valve. So in order to maintain a constant oil pressure, as the clearances between the moving parts of the engine increase to normal wear, the output of the oil pressure pump remains relatively constant for any given RPM. Upon what quality of characteristic of lubricating oil is its viscosity index based? Upon what quality of characteristic of lubricating oil is the viscosity index based? B. It rates the change of viscosity with temperature change. The viscosity index of an oil is measured of the rate of change of the viscosity of the oil with change in its temperature. Its rate of change in viscosity with temperature change. The oil used in recip engine has relatively high viscosity due to large clearances and high operating temperatures. The oil used in reciprocating engine has relatively high viscosity and high operating temperature. Large clearances, large clearances, and high operating temperatures. In recip engine, oil is directed from the pressure relief valve to the inlet side of the pressure pump. In recip engine, oil is directed from the pressure relief valve to the inlet side of the pressure pump. After making a welded repair to a pressurized type turbine engine, oil tank. The tank should be pressure checked to 5, not less than 5 psi, plus a maximum operating pressure of the tank. An oil tank having a capacity of 5 gallons must have the expansion space of 2 quarts. Why are fixed orifice nozzles used in lubrication system of a gas turbine engine? Why? To provide a relatively constant oil flow to main bearings at all engine speed. To provide a relatively constant oil flow to main bearings at all engine speeds. How are the teeth of a gear? How are the teeth of the gears in the accessory section of an engine normally lubricated? The teeth? Well, the gear teeth in the accessory section of the engine are lubricated by oil that is sprayed from the accessory shaft bearings and splashed around inside the accessory case by splash or sprayed oil. In the actual flow turbine engine, compressor bleed is sometimes used to aid in cooling the turbine vane blades and bearings. The actual flow turbine engine compressor bleed is sometimes used to aid in cooling the turbine vane blade and bearings. Let's go. According to the Federal Aviation Regulations, all tank fillers of the turbine engine must be marked with the word oil. The basic oil pressure relief valve settings for newly overhauled engine is made in the overall shop. The basic oil pressure relief valve setting for newly overhauled engine is made in the overall shop. So the present is not correct when the engine is started. It can be adjusted. The initial oil pressure relief valve setting for a newly overhauled engine is made in the overall shop. If the pressure is not correct when the engine is started, it can be adjusted. And that's all for today. We were in lubrication system. Go and get it. It's easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you study, it is easy.